Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. In this case to discuss books in horror because today I'm here to let you know everything that I managed to read in the month of December.
It's coffee time!
So the month of December went a lot better than I had anticipated, and I ended up reading a total of 14 things, which is crazy for me. But here's the catch. There were some novellas in here in a graphic novel, and those of course did help. But something that was different this month is that I read the majority of things on my Kindle, and I think for some reason that helped me. Because when you see on your Kindle how much time left you have, I think that kind of motivates me and keeps me like excited that I'm making progress. Whereas when you have a physical book, I don't think I get the same feeling because I don't know exactly how many hours I have left. I don't know how many minutes I have left. And I get a bit more discouraged maybe, like unconsciously. So I feel like reading more on my Kindle might be something that's gonna help me also to keep reading more in 2024. So I might need to get more ebooks than I normally do because I think they do help me read faster. Anyways, we're here today to talk about all of those books that I read in December. If you're new here, we love to rate our books with coffee mugs, and I always end up with the lowest rating to the highest, so we always end up on a positive note. Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. So, this book is something that I picked up last minute because I knew that the movie adaptation was going to come out on Netflix in December, and I didn't want to watch the movie without reading the book first. And I was kind of curious about the premise because it's almost like an apocalypse that happens, and it sounded weird, so I just wanted to give it a shot. Now this is about a family that is hoping to have quality time together, and they decide to rent a house outside of the city to kind of reconnect with nature and, you know, go to the beach and just have some nice holidays. But then something strange happens, and while they're home in the middle of the night, two strangers knock at their door. And when they open the door, the strangers tell them, "This is our house," and they ask to come in. So that is basically how it starts. That's also something you can see in the movie trailer, so I already knew that when I went into the book. And this is a book that is under 300 pages, and it is quite the slow burn. But honestly, I was not as excited about this premise as I thought at the beginning. There was something about the writing style that didn't quite vibe with me. At times I also felt they were almost sexualizing the children in the book, and there were also some racist comments, and I don't know if they were there for shock value, all of these things, or what the purpose was, but I was just not on board with any of it. The POV also kept jumping from one character's thoughts to the next, and that also did not make my reading experience any better. I was at this point just hoping that the book was gonna have a twist that was gonna like blow me away, but that never came either. So this was tough for me. I was so disappointed and I did not enjoy it much. No, I don't. So what I'm trying to say is that you should just skip this one and leave it behind. Mary and Sprite by Danny Lakely, and this is one of the Christmas rom-coms that I picked up for the season. During Christmas, I love to watch some Hallmark rom-com movies and read some rom-com books, so this is one of the ones that I picked. We follow Jonathan. He is trying to get away from his ex, and he decides to help his aunt take care of her business in a small town, and at the same time he's gonna be far away from his ex during the Christmas season. In the small town he meets Forrest, and this is a guy that is very outspoken. He's very kind of extroverted, and he's always flirting with Jonathan, and at the beginning Jonathan feels kind of uncomfortable about the situation and he doesn't want to know anything about it. He doesn't want to flirt with this guy, but this is a rom-com, so obviously something happens to Jonathan and somebody puts a spell on him, and he thinks this is a curse that somebody has put on him, and nobody else but of course Forrest can help him figure out what's going on and get rid of this spell that he's under. So as they have to work together to figure out who put the spell on Jonathan and how to break it, obviously they're gonna start having feelings for each other. So I thought it was very cute. I liked the romance parts. I just didn't like the whole mystery spell thing. I felt like it was not even needed. Like, it didn't really have a real purpose on the story, to be honest. And it was just there to bring like a mystery plot thing to the book, but it was really not needed. If we would have just focused on the love story, it would have been fine. So that's why I bumped the rating a little bit lower. Christmas in the Empty Cabin, a collection of supernatural and horror stories for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and other holidays by E. Reyes. So this one I picked up because I knew there were gonna be short stories that were perfect for the holiday season, and that is exactly what I got. These are very kind of atmospheric, moody, short horror stories, perfect for winter. You are getting different stories, not just Christmas one. There's a Thanksgiving one. One of my favorite ones was, I think it was one of the longest ones. It's a guy looking for his friend that got lost in a snowstorm, and that one was great. I loved the twist of that one. It was really intriguing, and all of the stories are short. They're different subgenres of horror, so they were a lot of fun. If you are looking for winter stories, or if you want more short horror stories for next Christmas, this is a great one to pick. Mistletoe Latte by Ellen Mint. So another rom-com that I picked up for the season, and this one I wanted to read because one of the main characters here owns a coffee shop, so I thought perfect for me. This was a cozy rom-com like you would see on a Hallmark movie, but then add a lot of smut to it. So this is very smutty. So if you don't like smut in your rom-coms, this might not be for you. We follow Emma. Her car breaks down and she has to stop at a very small town to try to get her car fixed so she can get to her sister's for Christmas, and also because she's starting a new life where her sister lives. So of course she has to wait for her car to be fixed, and she decides to wait in a coffee shop. Now the coffee shop owner is very stressed. There is many people coming in. He is kind of like overwhelmed by everything, and Emma decides to put on an apron and help him with the business. And thus they meet and they start a relationship, and they of course start liking each other more than they had anticipated. This one had a lot of heart. It had good messages. I really like that they are two adults that have their own kind of things in the past that have shaped them into who they are today, and that's why they have their reservations when it comes to the relationship, and they are still unsure about their future in different levels. And I love to see that being explored, and how also two people can help each other to figure out what they actually want in life. So it's not just about the smut, even though there's a lot of smut in the book, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a great Christmas rom-com. You Better Watch Out by Sarah Norton. So this is one that I just finished. It's the last book that I read in 2023, and it's the book for the YA book club of December. I will be in the live show talking about it. We will be talking spoilers there. So what I can tell you is that it's a book about some teenagers that go to a school that every year organizes a secret Santa. So our main character is really not looking forward to it because she still remembers last year's secret Santa when a girl went missing. So this year she is kind of hanging out with her best friends Benny and Cal, and she wants to make the best out of the holiday season, but at home she's also struggling. We get to see a lot of the parents in this book, which I thought was a good thing. The parents actually care, the parents are present, we get to know more about the parents, and one of the parents has a disability, which I love to see the representation in the book as well, and how sometimes it's not all easy for the teenagers. Sometimes in books the parents are always perfect and their lives are always perfect, but it doesn't have to be like that. Reality most of the time is different. So our main character Elle is struggling at home with her mom and their monetary problems and her mom's disability, and then at school she is not looking forward to Secret Santa because, like I said, she had bad experiences from last year. And this year it gets even worse when her Secret Santa seems to be stalking her. She starts getting text messages, she starts getting gifts from someone that is coming for her, but she doesn't know why is somebody targeting her and what they want from her. So I think that the author did a good job establishing the tension every time that our main character was gonna get the next gift, which is also the next clue to what's happening and who is targeting her. But it can also get a bit repetitive because every day is the same pattern. I would say that for me, the main mystery was entertaining up to when we got to the reveal of who the Secret Santa was. I did not enjoy that reveal per se, but that is a personal choice. Now, the characters didn't always make the best decisions, but you know, these are flawed teenagers, so obviously they're not always gonna think straight. But there were some parts about their friendship and how they communicate with each other that I thought were a little bit awkward and weird, so I don't know. I didn't believe 100% that they were friends sometimes, but that might be also just something that I personally felt. Overall, I thought this was a fun and intriguing mystery around Christmas season. I just had to lower down a little bit my rating because I was not so on board with the reveal of who Secret Santa was, and I think the ending in books is quite important. That last blow or that twist at the end, that quite didn't work for me as I had hoped. But honestly, this is a great fun YA thriller for the holiday season. The Christmas Bell by L.A. Detweiler, and this was also a very interesting story around Christmas. I tried to read mostly only Christmas books this season, which was quite fun, to be honest. So this one follows a family, in particular females from a family, like the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and they're all gathering together to decorate the Christmas tree this year. And one of the daughters is looking in the attic for the Christmas ornaments when she finds a little box that she finds really intriguing. She opens the box and there is a little bell inside. So when she's putting the bell in the tree and she touches it, she sees something really gruesome, something evil, and she almost blacks out. After that, things go downhill for this family. So what I loved about this is that we are following two different timelines. We are following the grandmother when she was a kid in 1955 with the explanation of the background of the family of this ornament, and then we are in the present time trying to figure out what's going on in order to survive. And I thought it was quite interesting also to see the different generations of women in the family, and I think this is a fun read if you're looking for a adult horror that it is around the Christmas season. The Candy Cane Killer by Emmy Ellis, and this is a book that I would recommend you if you guys love your classic thrillers with a detective trying to figure out who is committing the kills and an investigation. This is like your typical detective thriller story. So I chose this one because obviously it's during Christmas season and we have the candy cane killer, and that comes from, you know, a weapon that is a candy cane that is sharp. So there is a killer on the loose during Christmas season, and that killer is targeting homeless, and the bodies are starting to pile up, and so our detective needs to catch the killer before it's too late. Now, the only thing that I thought was not great is that you know who the killer is from the beginning, because the book is told from two different perspectives. You have the chapters told from the killer's perspective and the chapters told from the detective's perspective. So you already know who is the killer. It's not like you have to try to figure it out. But what the book is doing is revealing slowly the background of the killer and the reasons why they're doing what they're doing. And then on the other side, you are following the investigation and the detective that is trying to put, you know, the pieces of the puzzle together to get to the killer. So it was still entertaining and there was still some good moments, but I feel like knowing who's the killer from the beginning removes a lot of that mystery element, the thrill of it all, of who is doing this. But I did enjoy to learn the background of the killer, so 50-50 here. But if you're looking for a detective mystery thriller that takes place during Christmas season, I think this one was a fun quick read. Christmas Kitsch by Amy Lane. This is another rom-com that I picked up because it takes place during the Christmas season. We follow Rusty. He's ready to go to college. He's a little bit scared of starting his own, you know, life outside of his parents' house, and at the same time he's also trying to figure out his sexuality. Lately he's been having feelings for one of his good friends that is a boy, and that's never happened to him before. So he's trying to figure out his sexuality. He's starting college. He's unsure of what he wants to do with his studies. And so for him, it's a lot of like uncertainty. So this is a true kind of like growing pains, coming of age story, but it's all around the Christmas season. And Rusty will also learn that you can have a found family that is going to be there for you and it's going to support you. And I really enjoyed this story because you see a lot of support from family and friends. You get to see Rusty figure out what he wants to do with his life, and you see these two boys falling in love with each other, and it's a really beautiful relationship. This was a really quick read as well because it was so engaging to read it, and it also had funny moments, not just grief and growing pains and cute moments. It also had some fun moments and some uplifting ones. The only thing that didn't vibe so well with me is that towards the end of the book, I felt like Rusty was making some decisions or saying some things that were a little bit out of character, or that's how I felt. So that's the only thing that I was like, I'm not so sure about this now, but honestly, it was a great read for a Christmas rom-com as well. And I feel like because I really enjoy the writing and all the heart that this book had, and it was just not about the love of these two boys, but it was about a lot more. And I really enjoyed to see the found family that Rusty had and the relationship with them. I think I might pick up more things by the author if I'm looking for more rom-coms. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is Holly by Stephen King. This is the first time that I've almost DNF a Stephen King book. And I've talked about this before, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but this book had so much political propaganda and so much of the author's beliefs were being pushed down your throat that it got to the point where I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it. I understand that the author can give their characters whichever political views they believe their characters have, and obviously they can let us know how the character feels about politics or other things. Completely valid. I just don't need it every like 3 paragraphs or every freaking sentence. Like, there is a limit to how much I can take. And this book, I think for the first like 30% of the book, was excessively addressing the topic of the COVID, the masks, the vaccines, Trump, all of that, and it was so much. I don't mind if it's the same position that I have on these things or it's a different one. That is not even the point, because it's a character, it's fiction. The character can have whatever beliefs they want that fits the character, so I don't have to agree with the character. That is fine. But I just don't need it every like 2 paragraphs again and again and again. It's like every excuse he could find to push that into a sentence, he would do it. And that's what really bothered me. Like, it wasn't even needed for the sentences anymore. He was just keep pushing it and keep pushing it. And I was like, please stop.
Yeah, this ain't it.
Alright, so that's everything that I had to say about that. And now let's go into what the book is actually about. So we follow Holly. We know her already from the other trilogy, the Mr. Mercedes books. And you know that she works in an agency and they investigate cases. And now Holly gets her own book. And we follow her as she is investigating the disappearance of a young woman, and she's trying to get to the bottom of things and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. She realizes that this disappearance is connected to other things, and I loved the investigation part. And my favorite thing actually were the chapters that were not told from Holly's perspective, because this book is told from 2 different perspectives. We have Holly and all her chapters talking about her life, her mother, her investigation, the company, all of that. And then you have chapters from the point of view of the villains of the story. And those were my favorite chapters. I love them. I ate them up. If you love true crime, you're gonna love this book. If you can look past the things that I mentioned before, and you can make it through like I did, you're gonna love those parts. Those parts were fantastic. Love them. And I really love the mystery, the investigation, everything related to the crimes. I ate that up. So Probably one of my lowest rated Stephen King books, but I had to because of the aforementioned things and problems that I had. But the writing style, the character depth is something that Stephen King does so well. So it still got 3.5. The Christmas Morning Massacre by Nasser Rabadi, and this was a lot of fun. This is a pure slasher, just for fun. Just for fun, that's what it is. And it's a novella, and I have seen that there are more novellas following up this one, so I'm gonna be picking those up as well because, like I said, just fun. We follow a group of teenagers that are spending some, holiday away at this cabin. They are snowed in, so they cannot leave, and they start to discover that there are some rumors about this place and things that have happened here, and people that have been killed. So one night we get our killer that gets there and starts to pick them one by one, and is someone that is dressed up in a Santa costume. So honestly, don't look too deep into the mystery or the background of the place. It's just a fun slasher. If that's what you're looking for, you're gonna be satisfied with this. I thought the kills were gory, they were like imaginative, and I was living for the kills. The characters were not always very smart, but again, this is a slasher, supposed to be fun. So yeah, I honestly recommend this one if you're looking for a fun slasher that takes place during Christmas. Tangle and Tinsel by Ellen Mint. This is the second book that I read by her in the month of December. And we have here another cute small town romance. And this one I thought it was so entertaining, and I loved that both main characters got to tell us their story and we got to understand both of their backgrounds. And it's something that not every author gives you. When you have a rom-com, sometimes you see a lot from one of the characters' perspective and the other one is more in the background. And I felt like here both male characters got a lot of character depth, which is something that I really enjoyed. This is the perfect small town slow burn romance, and you have a city boy that is in a really small town, and he meets by chance this perfect hot cowboy of his dreams. And at the beginning he's trying to push those kind of bad thoughts away because he's in this small town for a purpose. He's looking for a piece of art that is supposed to be very valuable, so he's there to do a job and not to fall in love. Yeah, we know how this is gonna go, isn't it? They are gonna meet and they're gonna be forced to spend time together, and they're gonna end up falling for each other, even though right now in their lives they don't have time or space for romance, but time and space will be made. And this one has some smut in it, so again, if there's not something that you're not interested in, just to let you know, there are sex scenes here as well. I thought this was great. Honestly, this has been, I think, my favorite rom-com that I have read that takes place during Christmas, just because it just felt so cozy, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Candy Cane Kills by Brian McCauley. This has been one of my favorites of the month of December. This is another one that is short but intense, and this was a true homage to the 80s 90s slashers. It had all the good tropes. It was just so much fun. And we got the news that we're gonna get Candy Cane Kills in 2024. So you already know what's going on to my TBR for December next year because I need to read it. I love this. There's not too much I can tell you without spoiling anything, but this is one of those horror slashers that actually has such a good background story and is so effective even though it's short. We follow a family that is renting a cabin to spend the holiday season, and when they get to the place, the people in town tell them that there are some rumors, some things that have happened in that place, and they almost is as if they want to scare them away. But the family thinks, you know, it's just like local kind of tales and nothing's gonna happen to them until it does, because we're all hoping for people to get slashed here. And honestly, when the action starts, so much fun. If you love slashers and your typical slasher stories, but the ones that are actually so good, you're gonna love this book. You're gonna love it. I don't want to go into detail on what happened in the place and where everything comes from because I want to leave everything as a mystery for you guys, but honestly, this has been one of my favorites. Loved it. And I would probably reread this next year because it was just that much fun. Everything is Temporary by John Kahn, and this is another great Christmas read. I enjoyed this one in particular because it felt different. It felt so unique, and the author had such a big imagination and a great idea for the book. This is also a book that has a book inside of a book. We follow a married couple that is going through a rough patch. It is the Christmas season and the husband, Tom, starts to act weird. It comes to the point where he gets himself in trouble and the wife, Sarah, needs to try to help him. There is something about Tom's past in childhood that seems to have traumatized him, but Sarah doesn't know what it is. She finds a book that he wrote about his childhood, and it's supposed to be fiction, but is it? And that is the book inside of the book. We are reading chapters of Tom's book that he wrote based on his childhood, together with chapters from Sarah's perspective as she is trying to solve the mystery of what happened to Tom. This is such a good mystery, but also such a good kind of fantastical horror tale. It almost felt to me like a horror fairy tale, almost like the Grimm tales, but more extreme, like on drugs. You know, imagine a dark Brother Grimm's fairy tale, but just on steroids. This is it. I loved it. My favorite part was obviously the book that Tom wrote that we get to read to kind of understand what happened to him when he was a kid. Those chapters were my favorite, and I really encourage you guys to pick this book up. If you want to wait for next Christmas, that's fair, but I feel like there's not too many Christmas horror books that are so unique and entertaining. Most of the ones that I have read that take place during Christmas, the majority of horror books that are Christmas themed are slashers. Nothing wrong about that. Love them, read them all the time, but I appreciated that this one really gave us a more in-depth story about grief, about childhood trauma, and a bit more of a fantastical story. Like, I felt the story was so rich, so that's why I want to urge you guys to pick this one up. And last but not least, Heartstopper Volume 5, which feels so out of place because honestly in the month of December, like I said, I've only read either horror Christmas stories or Christmas rom-coms. And then there's Heartstopper. But what can I do? It came out in December. I had to read it. The moment it came, I sat down and I read it. And I should have recorded myself when I was reading it because I went through the trenches with this book. I went through all the possible human emotions and I gagged, I gasped, I laughed, I cried. It was a lot. So I think for the next volume, which is also going to be the last, I probably should record myself reading it, to be honest. But this is volume 5 in the Heartstopper graphic novel. You guys know what Heartstopper is. I don't think I have to explain. It's by Alice Oseman. Netflix has an amazing TV show that I've been addicted to as well. I think this has been my favorite volume so far, which is hard to say because honestly I love every single one of them, but there was something so special about this volume and all the representation and all the good information that teenagers are gonna get from this book. I don't know, it just, my heart couldn't take it. I love this book so much. If you are a Heartstopper fan, if you have not read volume 5 yet, do it. Because it's just beautiful. It's gonna break you though. It's gonna break you like we know Alice Oseman does. But this has been, I think, my favorite. So 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 would recommend. And those were all the things that I managed to read during the month of December. I hope that you enjoyed these reading wrap up. That is the last month of the year. This is how we close 2023. Actually, I'm really satisfied with everything that I got to read in December. I had a lot of fun and I ended up completing my Goodreads challenge. So I ended up reading 106 books. My challenge was 100. That is always the challenge that I set up for myself. So I'm really pleased that I finished it. And I'm gonna set up the same challenge for this year. So fingers crossed that I make it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below, you guys, which is the best book that you've read in the month of December. And if you also chose like Christmas themed books, let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!